Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, thanks for taking the time to listen in today. We're speaking with Daniel Ferreira from Global Governance. And in addition to me, Preston, your host, we also have Michelle, who's joining us today and will be asking some questions, participating in the conversation. So thank you both for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Preston and Michelle. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be here and to introduce some of the concepts we are developing here in Brazil. It's a great pleasure.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. We're super happy to have you. So in addition to kind of the general biography and background that we have for you, Daniel, today we're going to be talking about the role that your company plays, global governance, in planned communities in Brazil and maybe beyond. So I was hoping that to start off, you could maybe give just a brief overview of global governance. What is it and what is it that global governance does as a company?
Okay, in 2013, me and my partner, we start the global governance. We have a background of management, of luxury condominiums, of gated communities. This kind of community is very, very common here in Brazil due to the security issues we have here. So we started with the operational to make a great operation in this kind of communities, and we have great success on doing this operational work in these communities. We won an award in Brazil. The one of our clients, they became the great reference in Brazil on luxury communities. So starting with this background, we start to act in we call here the little cities, which are planned neighborhoods. So this kind of communities, they are very common here now. We have commercial buildings, residential buildings, gated communities. We have residential subdivisions that are, in this case, they are open. So we have to start a little city, create a city hall administration, which was private. This is one thing you have to keep in mind. Brazil, there is a lack of the the quality of the services on the public aspect. So it's very common in Brazil. We pay for services that they used to be free because the quality is not so good. So people here they buy to have a medical assistance. They pay to have school for their children. They pay for have a medical care. So everything, almost everything in Brazil, we have to pay to have a quality service. So this kind of pattern, it's also applied to a gated community, or we call the bairro planejado, which is a neighborhood plan. So we started to develop it with our knowledge, a communication plan, and an operation plan to be the software of these communities. I know in other countries there's a lot of developers developing private cities, which are very similar to our kind of community. So we believe we can be very useful to help to develop this kind of culture, to help to develop the know-how necessary to have these private cities, or in your case in Brazil, this neighborhood planet. So we believe we're developing more than 10 years this kind of solutions. We use an smartphone app to increase the experience because it's very necessary to have a good communication, and the app is very useful to do that. And also the app has a lot of functionalities that can be very useful and increase the quality of the life of the people, of the user of these communities. It's
Excellent,
good.
Daniel.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I was maybe I can respond to some of the things that you pointed out because you had kind of a very rich and total explanation of what global governance does and the setting in general of Brazil. So maybe with what you were saying at the end, then we can circle back to the history a little bit. But in talking about exactly how global governance assists these planned communities, what are some of the features of the app that you guys have built for your clients? What are some of the things that the residents of these communities can access or do through this app that you've built?
Okay, we have a partnership with a developer, and we built it together. We helped them, and we are very proud to have a great app for these communities. So, are you made a quote of some of these features? We have a voting model that is possible to the people to express their opinion. We can call some topic of they can vote and express what they are feeling. It's very important to a community, to the people having a belonging sense is how we call here in Brazil. It's very important for the people to feel part of this community. And this voting, these cues we create, we can help them to express their feelings and what they think about a matter, about a subject. So in the end, this helps to develop this sense. It can't be created in a just short time. It's a long or medium time. So it's very important, and this voting will help them to do it. We can organize the events that will happen on this community. The people can have a confirmation of their presence, which is very important to develop and organize the events. And these events have the purpose to help the people to integrate and make a relationship, start a friendship. So it's very important to the community to become united. They can create a friendship with each other, and this will help to create a harmonized system. So the background will be very, very positive. Another thing that is very interesting is this aspect is very important because you need to help the people, you need to convince them to install the app, but also to keep the app installed. So to help with this issue, we have a partnership or a benefit club inside the app with you can trade with local services. These entrepreneurs will offer discount or a special condition which is exclusive to the user. You need to have the app to have this benefit. So it is very important to the people they have the sense that are having financial benefit. The financial aspect is very important to keep the people with the app installed. They need to know that if they delete the app, they will lost. So this is very important. Okay. Another thing, we need a channel of communication inside the app for the people to express their feelings, their doubts. This is very necessary to have this to improve their experience and to be transparent, to be very easy to talk with us, with the operation administration. Another model, which is the intercom. People can do free calls between themselves inside the community. So will help to have an easier access with each other. It's very useful. And another thing which is very important, it is the emergence model. It is a panic button which can apply to security issues or health issues. So people press the button and their geo localization, their GPS point will be sent to the security team or the health healthcare team to have a fast response for this emergency. So all these models together can create a benefit on their lives, a thing that they will not want to lose it. So the sense of value we create with a good communication, a good relationship, communication strategy, it's very important to create this sense of value. In the end, the people will have a certain that their life inside this community is better. So in the end, it's all matter the quality of the life of the people to improve their life. So it's all about people, but you for this you need to have technology, strategies, know-how, and how to do it. All these solutions they are tested and tested over the 10 years. So we have the pleasure to say that today our solutions they are very mature, and I believe we can share this with the world.
That sounds excellent. Yeah, so it sounds like, just in summary, what the technology that you provide offers the residents the ability to communicate with one another, to vote and decide upon important matters within the community. You have access to emergency services and response notifications, and you also get access to partnerships with local entrepreneurs and businesses where you get discounts and kind of incentives to go and shop at different places just by using that app. So a whole range of benefits that it sounds like residents have access to by using that app. Maybe, and I do want to get back to the big picture of Brazil as the place where you guys do business, and why these kinds of solutions and systems are so relevant and important in Brazil as well as other countries. But before we get into that, I want to drill down a little bit more into the operations, the business model that you have at Global Governance. So when you said that for you guys have been building this out for 10 years, and you have had a lot of opportunities to test out the different products and services you provide. Can you walk us through the process of working with a new planned community? So when you are maybe one, what it looks like when you are approaching a planned community as a prospect, a potential client, and then what the onboarding process looks like. So, maybe the community's been around for a while and you are just beginning to work with them. How do you guys approach that from like an operations perspective? What does that look like when you're beginning
Okay,
to work with a new planned community?
so we developed a methodology which was applied in more than 20 private communities. So we have the privilege to become part of the most relevant communities in Brazil. And we act in three stages. The first one is before the start of the sales of the subdivision of the building, the houses. In this stage one, we give a consulting advice for the entrepreneur, for the developer, and we help them to organize the operational structure, the physical structure, to make a dimension of it. And we create a manual, which is an operation manual that will have all the necessary information for in the future to make a good administration of this community. And also, we have a training for the sales team to become aware of these benefits. It's a new thing, I believe, something new in Brazil and also around the world, this concept of community. So it's very necessary to prepare the sales team to believe in all these achievements and all these benefits we can create on the life of the people. And we have cases, some of our clients that they have sale all the phase. The most part of these private communities, they are very large, very big. So it's necessary to divide them on phases. So
Daniel, really
we have
quickly,
some,
can you give us
okay,
a sense of how many people on average are living in these planned communities that you work with?
okay. We have these private communities which can start with 500 families and also can reach 2,000 family or even 4,000 families. The most popular, they used
Wow.
to be the biggest. So, and later I will explain how we can create a lot of benefit without cost to the people. But back into the sales stage. So we have some clients that they have sold all the units in one day because the people they are willing to have a better quality of life. So it's very transforming our market, this kind of community. So this is the stage one. Then you go after the start of the sales, the stage two, which we present to the acquire a user for the application app, for the smartphone app, which is personalized with the name of the community. So we have an association, we call here in Brazil. This association represents this community, all the administration of the community. And then we present this app and we start a communication and relationship program which extends for all the time of the construction of the community. So we keep a monthly and even weekly communication with videos and to start to present all the bases to how to live in community, all the principles that are necessary to become a unity community, a peaceful community. So we need to build that. It's not a fast thing. It is a relationship of trust, and you can't gain trust in a fast way. So in all the time the community is being constructed, we create this relationship, and this is the stage two. And then the community becomes ready to be occupied, and then we have an event, an assembly of this association, which we call the delivery assembly. So in this occasion, we organize the event and how to present this community, this structure of administration. It is necessary to have a tax, a monthly tax, and people need to pay for it. So it's very necessary to present all the benefits to prepare this community so they really believe in what's happened. They are willing to pay for it. So the things become more smoothly when we do this preparation on the stage two. And then after the delivery, we start the stage three, which maintains this communication and relationship program, and plus a management support. It is a consulting we gave for the council that will administrate this association. So we have app, another application for smartphones that will manage all the work that will be done every day with the tasks, and this will be conducted by our team. So because we have this management app, we can make the operational administration in clients for all the Brazil. So Brazil is a very big country, and because of this technology, we can make a good work and keep to date for everything it is happening in our clients. And so we believe because of this, we can do also in another countries. And then this is it. This stage three be about 12 months at the least, but
The overall process will take anywhere from 12 months to 2 or 3 years,
the stage three, the stage
just for
two,
stage three.
the medium time is 2 years. It's
Oh,
the
wow.
construction stage.
Hmm. And in that sense, you're talking about truly new planned communities, ones that uh, are being built, and you guys are working with them at that very early stage to build out these systems. Is that right?
Yes, the stage one, it's very important with the communities that they are still on the master plan. So we act on this stage two. We call the stage zero. It's very early. So on this moment, we help the design team to how can I call in English, to measure all it is necessary to have this operational structure. So we give our point of view of the operation, which is very important to don't make mistakes on the future, and these mistakes will be very, very difficult to solve. So we help also on this stage. Mainly, we make a part of a council, and we participate on meetings and give our point of view and help to develop the master plan.
Understood. So you guys are perhaps not in every case, but fully capable of taking a very active role in the planning, development, as well as the operations going forward. Should try to bake everything in.
Yeah, to
That's fascinating.
To make it simple, the developer creates all the physical structure, the hardware,
Mhm.
and we develop the software. Always necessary to keep it is operational, but also the communication, the relationship that makes community united and peacefully, which is very, very important.
Right, the social and digital infrastructure.
Exactly.
Very good. I'm curious about, and I'll have I'm sure Michelle has some questions too that she wants to ask. So I'll give her a chance right after
Okay.
this. But I'm curious about some of the barriers that you guys run into as you run through this onboarding process and planning process, let alone the implementation, because you work at so many different in so many different phases with these planned communities, and you're working with multiple. I'm curious to hear from your perspective, kind of where the difficult parts are. And because I'm sure there's so much complexity here that you guys have to be able to deal with and manage. What are some common kind of barriers that you've come across and how you guys overcome them? Because, again, there's so much complexity. And I'm sure that over the last 10 years, you guys have seen some trends in that respect.
Yes, that is true. The mainly issue is we have it is with the human relationship. The technical is very easy compared to the human relationship. On the stage one or the stage zero, we have to deal with the developer and we have to help them to understand some concepts that is very necessary to improve the quality of the experience of the acquirers. We are very focused on that because if the acquirer doesn't have a good experience on buying their products, which we can tell that the main cases of these planned communities, they are divided on phases. So if the acquirer doesn't have a good experience, they will not tell for their parents, for their friends about this product. If they are very satisfied and happy, they will encourage their friends and parents and familiars to buy the unity on this community too. So we have to convince this concept of the quality of the experience the acquirers are having. So this is very, very important. And then dealing with the acquirers in the stage 2 and 3, we have to convince them all these benefits. So in the main case, what happened? The developer creates an association and operation administration that have costs. It's necessary to have money every month, tax, to pay all the costs of the structure of administration. If the people, mainly in Brazil, that happens a lot, and I believe this happens everywhere, the people want to pay the lower tax possible because it is an extra tax. Mainly in Brazil, you have just the tax for your gated community, and this one for the community, for the planned community, this private city, it is an extra tax. So people don't want for pay for it, but they know they have to pay because it's necessary. But it is a fight against the acquirer and the developer because the
Right.
acquirer wants to pay less possible and the developer need to create an association that can improve the life of the people. But if he does that directly without using a company like our company, which can transmit a professional administration for them, and the developer, when he does directly this kind of work with us, he can be, the acquirer can think, oh, he is being partial. All his decisions on this community, on this association, on this operational and administration structure, the decisions are taken by the point of view of the developer. So it is a partial decision. When you have a company like ours, we create a mediation about these two sides, the developer and the acquirer, the user. So having this professional administration, it's much, much easier for the developer because he it is not necessary anymore that he runs this association. He does it. It's necessary to him to make this relationship, which is very hard because people tend to think he is special about the administration of this association. So it's very important for the people to understand. And as I said earlier, it is a relationship of trust. And
Hmm.
this only happens when they believe the administration of the association of this community, they are impartial. It's very important to convince them. And it is not easy.
Hmm.
So this quality of relationship is very important for in the end the community works smoothly. It is very important. So this is some
Gotcha.
of our challenges.
So you guys, to summarize, you guys are essentially mediating. You're forming a bridge between the developer and the residents, and in matters that are necessary, for the actual structure and function of these planned communities. You serve as, essentially taking the things that are structurally important. They're integral to how the planned community operates legally and financially, and in terms of the actual infrastructure, the physical infrastructure. You're taking those aspects the developer has to make sure work, and you're translating them to, in terms of how they work procedurally, you're translating that to something that meets the needs of the residents. So you're forming that connection between the two and
Exactly.
making everything run a lot smoother. I can imagine, just from, knowing a little bit about similar projects in other parts of the world, that there's a lot of room for miscommunication between the resident and like the developer, or maybe the backers of the developer. They're not necessarily overlapping 100%. So I can totally see why a company like yours, which smooths over that relationship and kind of, takes what's incredibly important to the one side and connects it to what's incredibly important on the other, is a very valuable service. Especially like we said earlier, when you have so many moving parts, so many
Exactly.
variables, so many, complicated issues that can arise.
Just to say that our main goal is make easier the life of the resident, the user, and the developer. Sometimes we can act like an ombudsman to represent the acquirers. So we have cases then we advocate for them also to present the problems, the issues that are happened to the developer. So this open and another subject we can talk later too, which is the use the representativeness of the community in their own benefit.
So maybe if you'd like to unpack that kind of additional layer for us, I think that would be good to move into. And then after that, we can, if Michelle, if you have any questions, we can go to that. And then I would like to circle back here at the tail end to talk about the scope, the big picture. We've talked a lot so far about what your company does and how they do that in an operational sense. But along the lines of what you were describing earlier, the setting of Brazil and why planned communities have become so important and so popular, why there are so many around the country. We'll circle back to that part of the discussion, because I think that really ties everything together and explains what's going on and why global governance is such a unique company. But Daniel, just, we can jump back to what you were just describing and then go to Michelle before that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So, as I said, one of the aspects of our job it is to represent the acquirers. So, we learn mainly on the very popular communities to organize these people and use the representativeness on their own benefit. And some case on these popular communities, which can reach more than 2,000 families. You think that these 2,000 families can reach almost 10,000 people. So organize these people in a main goal. It's very, very useful because on the election system of the city hall administration here with 10,000 people, we can elect one or two city councillors. So using this representativeness with the city hall administration, create the attention. You capture the attention of the city hall administration in this popular community. So the administration of the city will help to get a better security services, will help them to make a landscaping job very, very better, to have a better life for them with no cost. So things will work very, very, very better just organizing the people, using their representativeness on their own benefit. So with these solutions, we have cases to develop all the services with an application of for smartphones, all this technology support with a very, very low cost and having benefits to improve the quality of the life of these communities which are very, very popular with poor people, and then to increase the quality of life with almost zero cost for them. So it is one thing we are very, very proud. It's almost a goal of our lives to help to improve the people's life. So it's something we are very, very proud to help to improve.
Excellent. I'll go to Michelle now if you would like to ask anything, maybe as a response to what Daniel just explained, or touching upon some of the things that we've already gone over in the course of the call. Michelle, feel free to ask away.
Yeah, of course. I have actually a question that is on my mind since the very first moment of the recording. Basically, it's about with the development of your app that serves plant communities. Of course, a lot of programs have been solved for them. You already talked about it. But do you think that in 5 years your app will be resolving something different? That do you think that it might evolve at some point that you can imagine now, but that in the future it will have different uses?
Yes, yes. And we are developing a better app. So we are focusing on the public. So we want to offer to not only this private community, but for the public administration, an app that can have the benefits, as I said to you, all these modules of security button, the benefit club, but also models like telemedicine, so people can have an appointment with a doctor inside this app, so they can have an initial virtual medicine care. So this will help a lot the people and also make easier for the health structure of the public administration, the city hall and even the country to make a better health care for the people. And yes, we can develop other models. Just for example, we are today initiating a pet care model so you can register your pets, and if they get lost, for example, you can announce them for the community with the photo of the pet. So if anyone sees the pet, it can very very fast to identify and give him back for the owner. And then another model we use it is orders. You can receive orders on this community association center. It is a physical an office that can receive your orders and you can bring them to you later. So inside the app you have to control that too. And then the sky, it is the reach we can do with this technology. It's very open and you can create another models and then which are necessary in some cases. I believe in your case you are participating on this too.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. I'm glad to see that besides it is, the long term future, you are already envisioning and you are already, feeling how this will help future problems, right? So, thank you so much for your explanation. Since I was hearing you, I have this on my mind, but your answer was very clarifying. Thank you. I don't know if Preston, if you want to add something else.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you
And
very
I
much.
think that what you were explaining, Daniel, it also points to a trend that one can see when looking at these planned communities. Not only are there more planned communities around the world, so the overall number is growing, but the populations are growing. The size of planned communities, in some cases they've been around for a long time, are getting bigger. There's being more infrastructure developed. They're offering more services, and I think that your model and what you're thinking about, right, is expansion as well, right? You're expanding these services that you offer for your clients, these planned communities, but in a wider sense, the entire industry, if you will, of planned communities is expanding in lockstep. So it's very interesting to see how that has evolved. I was wondering if you might speak to that, your experience as a service provider, obviously focused on Brazil, but how has that, from your perspective, evolved since you guys started this business? And what do you think about the future of planned communities in Brazil? Do you think that this growth trend is going to increase and continue? Where do you see this going?
I believe we're very very near to have a how can I call a revolution of these matters of communities and the way the people are living together. because with the technology of the applications for smartphones, we have so many ways to improve the quality of the life of the people. And just now, about 20 years, then Steve Jobs created the iPhone that have these apps, these applications. We have so many ways to improve the life of the people, and there is a lot of applications on the stores, on Google Store and Apple Store, that really improve the life of the people. But I believe this can be applied in a main perspective. So the civilization needs to use all these benefits with a solution that can bring these solutions together. You have a good example of this on the Chinese app WeChat. I don't know if you know this app.
Yes, yeah, WeChat.
And in WeChat, you can do a lot of things. You can talk to your friends, you can buy things. So it is a private solution that have a lot of mini apps inside this app. I believe with the communities associations, these private communities, these private cities can use this kind of technology to have these models, these mini apps inside them to really change the way the people live and use the benefit of the how can I say it, is the capitalism issue. So in capitalism you need to present the best service on the best price you can because you have opponents. So these opponents, they make you improve the quality of your service and make you make it better on a lower price. So I believe this principle can apply to this public services. I believe people need to have the liberty to choose which public services are better for them, which is very similar for the concept of the private cities. I believe a lot on this revolution, and I am conducting my company on this goal to become one of the first companies to get specialized on this kind of administration and this operational issue, but mainly the most important, the relationship. We are not talking about money, just money. We need to improve the life of the people. We need to give them conditions for have a peaceful environment, to have good relationships, to have friendships, to get a better quality of life in every aspect, even the emotional. This is our goal.
Well, I certainly agree with that. Yeah, I think that is certainly the vision that many in this field and certainly at our company and as well as yours that we aspire to is to support these kinds of communities. And I think that's really what everybody is looking for in one way or another. They're looking for a good, stable community of people of like mind who can support one another. And this is why I think, and it's interesting to hear your perspective coming from Brazil, mine coming from the US, and I've informed by travel to different places. But I think that in the end, right, people are going to go to the best option that they can sustain or afford. And in many countries, even in countries like the US, which we typically think of as, being very advanced and having, so many services and public goods available and so on and so forth. And of course, a whole slew of private options for whatever you could imagine. Infrastructure is not in very good shape, right? There are a lot of issues with regulations on a whole a whole range of industries that might otherwise be more effective, more competitive. And without going into any detail on what those might be, right? I think that generally speaking, and this of course goes for things like planned communities, people are going to try and narrow down and spend their money on the option that they think is best for them. So if you have a planned community that's offering a superior quality of life, has better infrastructure, things are kept intact and serviceable and effective, right? And you have all these other social layers on top, and you have the technology that supports them. I believe that's the future, no matter how it's packaged, whatever its source may be. That's just a better living arrangement for most people, and that seems to be where people are, spending their time, their money, and that's where they're moving to. So if, the regulatory framework of whichever country you're thinking about, or whichever country you choose gets in the way of those types of developments, right? People are going to move to the ones that are able to make it happen. And it seems like in Brazil, to hopefully tie everything back together, right? There are certainly issues with a lot of public works, and roads, and common infrastructure is not in very good shape. And so the rise of planned communities in Brazil, as an example of this wider phenomenon, is a part of the story, right? People are moving to these places. These, I think you called them little cities earlier. They're moving to these little cities because the big cities, they can't sustain the amount of people living there and all the requirements those people have. And the
Exactly.
little cities are able to, make up the difference, and then some, right? They're able to provide an even much better community for most people and their needs. So I completely agree with your kind of vision and mission statement as a company. I think that it's definitely one we should all aspire to, and connecting to the bigger picture, the kind of full where, why, how, and what. This is really something that is certainly happening in Brazil, but it's also happening in other parts of the world as well.
Exactly.
So it's been incredible to hear from your perspective how that's come to be in the Brazilian context. So how do you
Okay.
think that, just in talking with the people who are living in these communities, right, and working with the developers, do you think that for Brazil, the future is going to be more planned communities, more private cities?
Yeah.
Do you think that that's going to pair well with the politics of Brazil? I know we don't want we don't want to get into the all of the politics too much, but it is certainly relevant from the perspective of building infrastructure and providing services that people typically think of as being something that governments do. So how do you think that's going to evolve? Let's say in the next 5 to 10 years.
I have to say, Preston, you give a great explanation. And yes, in Brazil, to simplify, we call it these private communities the first world islands. So they are emerging more and more of these first world islands because first world islands, as you said, the infrastructure and in a great part of Brazil, they're not the best quality. This is changing, I believe, in the last 4 years to 5 to 6 years. Brazil, it is improving on this matter, but people want the quality of the life they have seen on Europe, on United States and other countries. So we can offer them an island of a first world country and they can live on it. And what happens on the next years, 5 or 10 or 20 years? The children that born inside these communities, they have another reference of what their country must to be. So they will help to improve the quality of the life for everyone else. If you have the more you have of these first world islands, more and more the people will change their reference. If the people which are more poor and don't have the condition to live in a community like that, these communities are not gated, they are open. So people can buy there, they can use a shopping center, they can make part of their life inside this first world island. So the people start to require from the public administration a better quality of life. And more people start to 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 make this requisition. I do not accept the infrastructure I had in the 20 years, or the last 20 years or more. I want something better. So the kind of reference of quality elevates a lot, and this will impact the future of Brazil. I believe Brazil can become in few years, if not a first world country, but get more and more near of this goal because of the quality of the reference. Because of if the poor people, the people that are not so benefit in the financial issue, if they do not have condition to travel to another countries to have this reference, they will start to have it inside the country with this first world islands. So it is just the beginning of a great revolution.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and I really appreciate the detail in terms of your description of what global governance does as a company, what planned communities are in Brazil and how they work, and then finally where you think and see the future of planned communities and the future of Brazil as tied to these little cities, as you termed it earlier. So, before we close out today, Daniel, where can we find your company online? What's your website? And if you have any other things that you'd like to provide here at the end of the podcast for our listeners to take a look at your company and see, read a little bit more about what you do, where can we find you?
I would like to invite everyone to access our international version of website, which is globalgovernance.net. So we have a Portuguese, Brazilian version of our site, but we are focusing now and mainly on the next year to promote our know-how to other countries, and we are participating in a lot of issues on this matter. So I invite you to know a little bit in how we are focusing in the global markets in our website, globalgovernance.net. So in there, you can know more about me, about my partners, and the kind of work we are developing, and all the details for the application, the smartphones application, the models, and the solutions we are developing.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again, Daniel. We greatly appreciate your time, and we hope to remain in touch and perhaps follow up as you guys expand out from Brazil and focus on other markets. I think it would be great to discuss that as well after you guys have had a chance to explore those opportunities. So, with that, I think we close for today. And Daniel, thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Preston, Michelle. I'm very proud to be part of this podcast and to have the privilege to express myself, all my feelings, my dreams, and all the things we want to help to improve the life of the people. Thank you very, very much.